going to read some poetry and some fiction, and I'm going to begin with poems from Splay Anthem. All of the work I'm doing is serial work. The fiction I write is serialized, and the poetry I write is serialized. Two series, Song of the Andumbulu and Mu, have taken up all the work I've been doing in recent years. And of course, the novels are a string of letters in a work called From a Broken Bottle, Traces of Perfume Still Emanate. So I'm going to start with some poems from Splay Anthem. One strand that runs through this work, which is very iterative and reads back on itself, has to do with an essay I wrote a number of years ago called Sound and Sentiment, Sound and Symbol, which had to do with music and made use of the Kaluli of Papua New Guinea, who have this myth of a boy who turns into a bird, and that's their way of talking about the birth of poetic language and the birth of music. And there are a series of poems in the Mu series, and Mu is short for music, among other things, that echo that title, and this is one of them. It's called Sound and Sentience. Scales, what would once have been skin. Feathers, what would once have been cloth. There that claiming heaven raised hell, fraught sublimity, exits evermore to come. A drum's head it was we walked on, beats parsed out by ghost feet, proto-ghost feet our feet had become. It was a dream of beaten earth, beaten air, beaked extravagance, birds we'd eventually be. Albeit feeling took flight's place, flight familiarities run, movement found our feet, what once had been wood. We stood as one, stung wood's revival. Pinocchio was on the box. Puppet run, strung wood, stump trumpet, bugled admonition, spun. It wasn't swirl we wandered into, circling wind we considered moot, a way we had of running in place. Phantom limbs they were we ran on, ghost feet that they were. Nubs that had once been feet lost their numbness, feeling it was, made us run. It wasn't feeling's return we ran with. Irredentist earth beneath our feet felt good. Irredentist earth fell away from our feet as we kept running, ran from day one, long before day one. Proto-ghost, entourage. Leg anthem, the music intimated. Spooks, it now was on the box. We were anything but there, though not elsewhere. Rhythmically elect, but loosed even so. Earth, a dream of drums, come true. It wasn't puppets we were, strings tied to what had been wood notwithstanding. Wasn't we were wood anymore. Runaway earth, abrupt cut from under. Ricochet and reach, rival names we knew it by. Blinked, and before we got there, were gone. Proto-ghosthood, its own haunt. So that run, it seemed it was, we came to next. A place had been a place, made of whisk, born away what see, blur. Blent vista, such that splinters reared up and walked, went remittless, endless reconnoiter, endless vex, revisitation, endless hoist and hoofbeat, limbed on high. Comings and goings, not gotten over. Death, not gotten over. Goings away, glimpsed again, had us gone without going. On to the heard about city, sounded out. This is a Song of the Andumbulu, 55. And it's subtitled Orphic Fragment. The first section is touched by the Brazilian film, Black Orpheus. Carnival morning, they were Greeks in Brazil, Africans in Greek disguise. Said of herself, she was born in a house in heaven. He said he was born in the house next door. They were in hell. In Brazil, they were love bait. To abide by hearing was what love was. To love was to hear without looking. Sound was the beloved's mummy cloth. All to say, said the Exhbit, love in hell was a voice to be spoken to from behind, not be able to turn and look. It wasn't Greece where they were, nor was it Benin. Carnival morning in made-up hell, bodies bathed in loquat light, would-be songs all the more would-be titled, sound and cerement, voice wound in bandages, raveling laps. Up all night, slept well past noon, awoke restless, having dreamt she awoke on lone coast, wondering afterwards what it came to, glimpsed interstice, crevice, crack. Saw her dead mother and brother pull up in a car, her brother at the wheel, not having driven while alive, newly taught by death, it appeared. A fancy car, bigger than any her mother had had while alive, she too better off, it appeared. A wishful read, it appeared notwithstanding, the Exhbit impossibly benign. Dreamt a dream of dreams' end, anxious, unannounced. Aranel's nevermore namesake, monks, anagrammatic Lenore. That the dead return in luxury cars made us weep. Pathetic its tin elegance, pitiable. Sweet reed misread would be sweet. One more from Splay Anthem, and then we'll listen to some prose. This is part of the Moose series called Dread Lake's Aperture. Very much informed by this. The song of the Andumbulu is taken from the title is taken from the Dogon of Mali, their funeral music. They have this piece called Song of the Andumbulu. And Dogon cosmology and lore kind of circulates throughout this writing a good deal anyway. Excuse me. And this idea that that the dead return in the beer that the elders drink comes into this poem. And it's a heavy motif in Dogon culture, and it came into Song of the Andumbulu from the very first poem, which is back in the first book, Eroding Witness. A wash of sentiment flooded frame, ground, figure. The wall between given and gone grew thin, the dead surviving death in a swirl of wind. Children of the Night was on the box. Wayne's nasal cry nudged us on. We were them, their lapsed expectancy, gun barrel nuzzling the backs of our necks. These children, he said with a sigh. Sat on grass eating something called poppin', sprung from an acoustic mirror, supposititious canvas, prepossessing light. An Elysian scene out of childhood almost, except the children sipped beer, bourbon, wine. Spoke with mouths full, mouths wide open. We saw poppin' inside as they spoke. Chuck E. Jesus they talked about going to. That or having gone, unclear which. Rude crew in whose childish guise our departed kin could again come back. These children would come again elders. The elders were children again. These children were drunk, dredged Eldrin. Drain Lake's namesake brew, the beer they drank.